I'm hearing great things, I'm seeing great things, but I want to ask you right off the bat, this is about smashing patriarchy, which is the foundation that our globe, every single country is based on. What do each one of you as individuals want to smash out of the patriarchy, personally speaking?
Okay, I want to write the narrative. I want to be the one writing the narrative. I want women to be making stories about women and about men. So that's the sort of patriarchal setup in television, in film, where the stories are not being told by women. I think that's what I want to break. I want women to tell their stories, because they'll tell them. Not that Asim is not allowed in that world. Yes, so definitely yes, that patriarchy needs to go.
Okay.
I think I want to destroy the idea that women are lesser beings, and they are just extensions of men, and we're only sort of confined to roles like a mother or a sister, or some relative of a man. I want to sort of destroy the idea that women even need men to survive. I think that women can take care of themselves, they can support each other, and they can uplift themselves. And they've done so for so many years, and men have only tried to be a hurdle, the ones keeping the patriarchal system in place. They've only been a hurdle for women, and I want to destroy the system altogether.
Patriarchy could have worked. If patriarchy really wanted to work itself out, it should have been kinder. It should have been more accommodating. And it should have understood that all human beings have a right to just simple things in life. The civil liberties, जिसको अभी हम और एक उर्दू की terminology होती है शख्सी आज़ादी, the freedom to be yourself. Had patriarchy taken care of that and would have been okay with this, there would have been no need to crush it in the first place. However, this is centuries of a system prevailing with a lot of cruelty at the root of it, a lot of injustice. So what I really want to crush about it is the fact that nobody has a right to tell any other human being that they don't have a right to live.
Awesome. What that makes sense?
I think they've all addressed it beautifully. So I think it is fundamentally for me crushing the status quo. It is the complacency that has come about in societies with the difference that men and women in power, in terms of what they have control over, in terms of their agency. That difference between a man and a woman, that needs to go. They need to be aligned. They need to be equals. They can't be defensive anymore. They have to be on the attack. And I think that that is the only way to crush the status quo.
Each one of you play very different characters. And of course, a lot of the promotional material said, Churail, Zubeda, Churail, Jugnu, that's how it was marketed. Who is the one Churail in your life?
I think I've answered it before too, and for me, it is me. I am the Churail. Yeah, I have always been a Churail and pretty proud of it. If I was trying to fit in and accommodate what society expects from me on the outside, I was always a Churail on the inside, and I remembered that. That's something I never forgot. That is why I always knew what to move on from and to be able to do what I am able to do in life today. So yeah, for me, it's me.
I try to surround myself with Churails. It's probably because I feel I'm not Churail enough. that I do want. I at any given time, I want the backing of another Churail. And I think my mother was the first Churail that I sort of encountered in my life. And she's certainly not a pushover. And age cannot wither. So
it's always been my mom, because I've never seen anyone so fiercely protective of a child as her, because I was also her firstborn, and I've often seen her. So there was this one time this guy was staring at me, and anyone just doing as much as staring at me would actually get her to just hold him by the neck and ask him, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you staring at my 14-year-old daughter? So she would like hold everyone accountable without the slightest, she wasn't afraid.
For me, every woman I've encountered has been a Churail. From my mother onwards, and I've been very lucky. So that's why when I meet non-Churails, I get upset and offended and want to turn them into Churails as well. So I think I've been very blessed to be surrounded by Churails.
Sometimes when you play a character as an actor, especially in a series, because there is such room for character development, you can actually show the growth of a character in a series as opposed to a film, and you get to focus on the various characters. What is the one thing you learned from your character that you would like to, and Asim, from any character for you, but for you, the actors, what's the one thing you learned from your own character, and one thing you learned from another character that you want to incorporate into your own reality?
I learned that it's okay to not apologize. It's okay to not feel bad all the time, because the character that I play doesn't waste time, having that conversation in her head about how she shouldn't have done this or shouldn't have done that. She gets on with it, and she does a lot of things that you may not approve of, but she does them, and then she stands by what she's done. From another character, I would want I would want to be a Zubaida. I would want to be physically very strong. I'd at least not want to get injured every time I try to do something, some sort of strenuous form of exercise. So I loved that, and she's a great dancer in real life. So I think from her real life and real life, I'm very inspired.
I think that before playing this character, I wasn't very quick to react when I was abused, or if I was, wasn't dealt with correctly. I wasn't always quick to react to it. Sometimes I would keep it to myself and I wouldn't really do anything about it. And I was always very non-confrontational in this regard. So I think that after Zubaida, I think I've definitely learned the importance of knowing how to fight and standing up there and then if you've been dealt with incorrectly and if you've been wronged. So I think that's one thing I definitely took away from her. I think I really like Sara because I think that there's no age for any person to break out of their shell and evolve. I think that Sara proved that, even after becoming a mother and after having lived someone else's life, essentially, she could actually break out of that cycle and be someone she's really proud of. And there's really no age to that.
For you, Yasra, what did you take away from your character and from another character that really inspired you?
I could do like an entire interview on Yasra versus Jugnu, but I try to sum it up quickly. And that is that in the 4 months that I was shooting Churails and the 1 month before that, I think I relived the 36 years of my life in 5 months. Because Jugnu reminded me of a lot of things about me that I had forgotten, not just as a woman, but also as an artist. I didn't realize that in the past decade, especially, how much I had walked away from who I was and actually truly am. Again, as a woman, as an artist. And I was just on this spree to fit in. And I didn't even realize that on the outside, I'm all like outspoken and everything, but I was constantly just trying to do things according to them. So what it seems like a very this character who's having a lot of fun and has all these punches and doesn't care, but for me to do that character which seems like a character who doesn't really care, I had to care too much. I had to think a lot. I had to feel a lot again. And yeah, so that was so. Jugnu hasn't left because a lot of her was me.
Awesome. Did you have a favorite Churail? And if so, was it because you took a lot more away from her, or was it an amalgamation?
How do you choose your favorite child? It's not really possible. Yes, there were qualities that I liked in each one of them, but I think what really bound them together and made them one for me was their honesty and their courage. These four characters, I think that's what truly defines them. And even if they are not honest in the beginning to themselves, and I think perhaps Sarah isn't, and sometimes I think Jugnu isn't either. But I think what they learn through that journey, and what I learned through that journey, is their honesty and their courage to face the world on their own terms, and as Yasra said, to live their life as truthfully as they can. And I think that's kind of what it taught me. It taught me that courage to face the world and to not, we often, I'm a people pleaser as well, or have been historically. And so I think, I try and appease situations as much as I can. And I think they taught me, not that I'm an angry person now, but they taught me the importance of each and every feeling that we feel. Like I know the importance of rage from these guys.
You talk about the importance of, you've mentioned this before as well, about aggression, that you can't be on the defensive anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly have, when I look back at my personal history, I certainly have maybe the first couple of moments I remember where I realized that we're living in a society where women seem to be treated as lesser beings. Do you have that initial first memory of that first realization, that first feeling of aggression that, hey, something's not right here? Why am I being treated like a lesser human being for the actors? And Asim, when was the first time you realized that there is not just an inequality, but an inherent inequity in the way in which we treat females in society, even in 2020? When was that first realization? Was it as a child? Was it something that happened when you were attending school? Do you have a first memory of that, of a trigger that you recall?
When I was 16, I was in the process of going to college to the US. And so I got my I-20, and my mother is like, so she applied for this visa with me, which she didn't get. And she was very pissed off about it. So when I got my I-20 and I was likely to get my student visa, she's like, "Tum ladki ho, you cannot go alone to America. You think I'm going to send you? You're not even 17 yet," and everything. So I was like, that was the first time it did strike me. But again, the Churail that I am, I was like, watch me. And I started packing up my shit, and I started giving away my clothes to my cousins and getting rid of everything. And so 2 months later, and I borrowed the money from her on like a pretense for something else, for the visa. I had the visa, got it, brought the passport in front of her, and I said, I am going, come up with my tuition. But yeah, but that's why I said that I'm my own Churail, because the first time I registered it, I encountered it, I was like, no, that ain't happening. I'm not going to buy that as a reason, and I'm not going to go with it. So I went with $4,000 in my pocket. No idea कि आगे कैसे पैसे आएंगे. But I went.
Impressive at that age. Impressive. Nimra, do you remember your first trigger or your first memory of inequality?
I remember feeling this. I didn't have any brothers for a very long time. I think we were three sisters, and so usually you encounter these things with siblings where like there's a male sibling and the brother has it easier. But I always felt like my dad was treated with a lot more reverence than like any regular person. We were all supposed to be a certain way around him, and I never understood it. It really annoyed me that my mother would make us, sort of respect him in this exaggerated way, like he wasn't. And I think for a long time that prevented me from seeing him as human and it created a lot of distance between us as father and child. But then as I grew up, I realized that that's so much that's done so much around us, that men are given this really strange they're almost over respected and over revered, and for no reason that I can comprehend, why they're given that kind of respect. So yeah, so I did feel that was a bit off. Yeah, that's when I felt that men are treated a bit differently. Not a
Do you
bit
think
different.
Asim wrote these characters, and when we actually became full-blown Churails in front of him, do you think he thought that ये तो असल में जब होती हैं तो फिर ऐसी होती हैं, इसीलिए इनको काबू में रखा जाता है? Do you think that happened somewhere in there?
I think it did.
Do you think that happened?
I think it did.
This is what anger looks like.
Hi,
Oh
Army.
shit, what have I unleashed?
Hello.
Hey, Sarwat.
Hi.
Hi.
Question dodge हो गया मेरा.
Nay, I don't think it did. I hope not. I did get annoyed with all of you. There's no
Yes.
denying that.
Didn't you never want to work with women again?
I said I don't want to work with women for my next thing. I did say that. I said I need a break. I did say that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I think that was a lot of other.
I'm sorry.
That was
But I
the
can
amount
imagine.
of time needed for makeup, and me having to be blow dried because the sweat patches would come, and never working with women in heat again.
Yes. And Asim,
Yes, that's rather better.
liking us a lot more after shooting ended. Yes.
Yeah, shooting. I hate myself. I hate everyone. So I think the shoot is not a real. It's not the environment to judge my like or dislike for someone.
Yes.
Mehar,
But
what
coming
about
back to
you?
the questions about the triggers.
Yes. What was
okay.
that first
You
moment
wanted to go? Okay.
where you felt as though this is? I have realized that there is some sort of inequality. There's something not right.
Okay, so one time, and this is an incident that was really in my face, and everything was very crystal clear to me, but I don't remember doing much about it. So when I was in college, I was selected to go on to spend a semester in the US to study. So I got selected because I had the best grades in class, and apart from me there were 3 other boys who were also selected to go on the same program. So my administrator came up to me and said that the only reason we chose you is because we needed some female representation. So like at that moment I felt like I was just a token being used to impress these foreigners. And I felt like, these people don't acknowledge that I do have the best grades in class and I am qualified to go there. And instead, they're using me as a token, and they're just telling me that I'm going because they need representation, they need female representation. So that really got to me, and I understood that, it's much harder for a woman that way to make her place, even in the education sector, even when you're on your way to doing something, special. I don't know.
Sarwat, thank you for joining us. I was just asking everyone, when was that first moment in your personal life that you realized that there was inequality, that there was this patriarchal system in society that had almost made it so that, not almost, made it actually, so that women were being seen as lesser human beings? When was your first realization?
Even as a child, I think when it was expected of my mother to do the dishes, and then so on and so forth, like getting more attention. My brother got a lot of attention because he was a boy, but from my mother, so I think it's everywhere, and we see it in stages, and it doesn't even hit us till we do something like Churails. That, oh my God, you know, because it's a reflection of what has actually happened over the years that we've spent on this planet. That, oh my God, so much has happened. We've struggled so much over centuries, and we still are trying to get a voice. We're still trying to find a ground to stand on because it's not given to us. I see it every day. I see it in different stratas because I do work and, you know, I have the exposure to go and work with, like, sit and have lunch with the ENG people and the guys in the crews and you know, stuff like that. So, and then I see the elite people also. And, you know, I see that everyone wants to be free at the end of the day. They want to be a free person, whether that's a woman or a man, whether that may start at the age of adolescence for a girl to wear lipstick, or for her to grow up a little and say, oh, I want to continue my education then, or maybe get out of that situation because she like get out of her home situation and her scapegoat is marriage. So we see it every day. I see it every day, and I feel that it's about time that we, I mean, the way Asim and Mo and, you know, Shailja has done it, they've just made it so very special, this amazing message that we've been trying to give all these years of work and workplace and trying to deal with men on a daily basis. Every woman on this planet has felt it. She may come from this society or that society or this region or that region. We still face it every day. Like CEOs from multinationals, you know, at women conferences are saying that we still are denied position and acknowledgement by senior bankers. I mean, it starts from there, and, you know, you can then imagine where it goes to.
For you, Asim, when was the first time you realized that there was this?
It was probably happening all my childhood because I was coming from a place of privilege, but I never realized it until much later. I think what happened with me was I had many sisters. They were all older, so I was the baby of the house. So that role of mother and sister kind of merged. So I always had many mothers, and it was always like, oh, he's the baby, he's being spoiled. So it's only much later, I think, when I reflected, when I understood what the differences were, what it meant to live in a privileged society, be a privileged gender, that I realized small things that would happen. I mean, my parents were very loving towards, you know, my sisters as well, but small things that kind of carried through. You know, even now in the UK, like if my mother visits, she freaks out if she sees me wash the dishes or throw the rubbish out, but she doesn't freak out if she sees my wife wash the dishes. So it's small things, very small things that are kind of inbuilt in the society that kind of, you know, it propagates, and, you know, through men and through women, because women also kind of migrate to the other side, unfortunately, sometimes. And so, yeah, small things, but only small things. And most of the times they're so small that men don't notice it, you see. And it's the big things that we are addressing is fine, but it's also hopefully the men, you know, I don't think men watching this are going to be some of the creeps that we're going to show in the show, but at least some of the men who are on the border, who, you know, allow for this privilege to seep in, who allow for small, you know, misogynistic stuff to pass through. Maybe they will sit down and reflect and, you know, take something away from the show and be able to say, hey, we need to make a conscious decision to make changes in our daily life.
You had talked about, I'd seen a recent article in which you said, Asim, you had said that before, you know, there's this need, and we've addressed it earlier in the interview, there's also this need that women's stories should also be told from a woman lens. That I think Nimra talked about this.
Yes. And
it's nice to see, you know, a female story being told by a female. But you said until, you know, that time comes, men need to be allies. This article that I've read. Yeah. Who has been your biggest ally?
It was my younger brother, and now it's my husband. I've known him for 7 years, and he enables I don't know how does he do it, but he enables me all the way. Empowers me to, like, whenever he can, and whenever, like, it comes down to him aiding in any way. Otherwise he just literally lets me be completely. So yes, him for me, Abdul Hadi. That's the thing.
Yes, I would have to say I very reluctantly give my husband credit, but I mean he's making all these interviews possible right now. So yeah, I can hear them in the next room. He came back so that we could continue to do this non-stop. So yeah, he's sometimes he's sort of sometimes he pushes me. I'm actually not not much of a. I'm a bit of an introvert, and I've never understood the connection between being an actor and being an extrovert, because I'm an actor who's shy. I'm not really, so confident in social situations. He tries to sort of push me into social situations because he thinks it's good for me to do that. So yeah, I'd have to say.
Honey.
For me, it has to be my dad, because I mean, all the females in my family are very well educated, but they don't have necessarily the kind of amazing education that my dad helped me acquire. He sent me to one of the best schools in the country, and he did that after fighting with the entire family. They didn't see the need for me to go to such an expensive school, and he really stood up for me and made sure that I was.
This is a difficult question, because it can't be one man. I feel every man who I've met in my life, who's been comfortable in his skin, who's tried to see eye to eye with a woman, has made that impact in my life. Whether that was my father, or whether that was a senior actor who gave me good advice, or whether that was a shopkeeper who turned around and said something nasty to the guy who was being messy with a woman. Men who stood by women. I think all those men, and we've all met those men in our lives. And I'd like to say that Asim has gotten into that list because he's opened so many thought processes for me again, and for all of us, to think a little deeper into who are those men who support women, and why do they support women, and who are those men, and be able to identify where the problem lies. Where is that one switch that gets them off? So that's the thing. I think something like Churails does start a dialogue, and this is what it's doing between men and men, and men and women, and women and men over dining tables and dinner tables, and it's great. Yeah.
Sarwat, you should mention Fahad as well, because he is a big ally.
Yes, Fahad, absolutely.
Your husband.
Thanks, Asim, for saving me there. Yes, Fahad is amazing. I mean, I couldn't get luckier. He's a surgeon, he's an artist, he's a sculptor, and he understands me, and he's my first love. So we go back when he saw me struggling as an artist in an art school, and he told his mother then that ye heera hai heera. So we कहती थी नहीं ये सही नहीं है. So we didn't get married then, but we got married now, and he's always encouraged me, even for Churails, like the poster had me sitting in a certain way, and I was like, oh my God, my sleeve and all of that. But he encourages me. He's like, this is your time, you do it, and I'm here. So it's amazing to have those kind of men, and I think we're very lucky, and I think we're able to show our creativity, and we're able to be ourselves and be honest with our work because we have those kind of men behind us. Yeah.
Actually, even in the show, there are men who are allies.
Yes,
they're very clear characters who you can identify as allies. And I think that what that might end up doing, if somebody's looking closely, is help women identify allies and men.
That's a good point.
Traits?
To wrap up, if I could go through each one of you, what's the one word that would describe Churail for you now? How would you define Churail in one word? What does it mean to you today?
Strength.
Strength.
Freedom. Liberty.
I think for me it's acceptance. Acceptance. Yeah.
Nimra and Bano like holding their hair. I was gonna say clarity because you always say clarity.
Yes, I do say clarity.
Yes.
But today I have none. So big fog in my head.
Drive,
Right.
ambition.
And those are our words and we're sticking to them. Yeah.
Into our words.
Well, you know what? Honestly, with all of the luck and with all of the love from us, all the very best with the reception that Churails is getting. I know it's going to have a phenomenal run, and a lot of people will tune in. I'm about to tune in, and I will. You know what? It's funny because I've done this interview, and it's weird because it's a satisfying feeling I have inside because I'm a little bit angry, I'm a little bit upset, I'm satisfied, and I think that's what defines this interview for me, which is probably that means it's been successful, at least from my end, for me.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit upset, a little bit angry.
That's exactly how you feel when you see Churails. That's the feeling, that you're having.
Wonderful chatting with all of you. All the very best. I know it's been a long few days, long few weeks, but all the very